Hi there, my name's Nick Dutch, and this is a channel upon which I voice my opinion. You can agree with it, you can disagree with it. I've got a comment section, so use it. Today I'm going to tell you about what I think should happen to religion. Firstly, it should be kept, but changed. And I mean that across the board with Islam, Christianity, Judaism, paganism, and every single other religion on the face of the planet. The concept of worship should not be a statement that you are somehow subservient or a servant of a particular deity. The word worship comes from worth and ship. It essentially means bringing yourself as a character and as a personality to a certain level of worthiness of a particular concept. Either worthy to receive whatever God is, or worthy to be accepted by whatever God is, or indeed just a little more worthy than you are already, and the extent should be up to yourself. So the idea of worship becomes essentially a psychological exercise, and not necessarily one in which you have to actually believe in God at all. On the subject of politics, religion should keep the heck out of politics entirely. If I was to illustrate this using the Catholic Church could grow up and state something like, well, on the subject of contraception, we understand the world's changing, we know there's diseases out there, yes, you can use it if you want to, but it is our position that the apparent ban upon contraception is there for an intention to try and make sure that you're more likely to keep your families nice and strong and you'll show respect for any new human beings you bring into the world. So essentially, yes, you can use contraception, we don't really care, but essentially you've got to think about the intention, more about the fact of whether you should use contraception or not. Again, using the Catholic Church as an example, on the subject of abortion, they could say, well, we understand the way the world is, we understand that there are rapists in the world, and they're bloody awful people in every possible way. They do terrible things, and essentially, if a woman is raped, then yeah, of course, have an abortion, just get on, do it, knock yourself out. But think about the intention behind the idea that we've got, which essentially is, have some respect for life and, bringing more people into the world could be regarded as being a good thing. So think about the intention rather than actually whether you do it or whether you don't. That would be a way of getting around the issue. Remember, that's a way, not necessarily the way, and I'm sure the faith communities can work out some interesting compromise at some point in the future. On the subject of do you actually have to believe in God, the answer should in fact be, well, basically no, but this concept of God represents a goal or a state of mind that we hope you could reach at some point through doing a few exercises such as prayer, singing hymns, reading a few books, and seeing how things go. On the subject of people being blasphemous against their religion, they should think, well, you're entitled to your opinion, we don't really care all that much because we're quite happy being who we are, and basically, yes, there are contradictions in our books anyway, so, yeah, well, go for it. We're not too fussed, because essentially, you've got your opinion, and we can step outside the box, and then try and see that as just people voicing their opinion. Fine. On the subject of life after death, belief in life after death should not be enforced. And certainly the idea that you've got to tick certain boxes in order to get into heaven or somehow live after death should basically be got rid of entirely. The idea that God watches you every single second of every single day should be changed somewhat to, why don't you just try and live under some circumstances as if God is watching over you every single second of every single day, and think about, maybe what He might like for you, and thus to be able to develop a more philosophical and allegorical attitude to the whole sort of God being a peeking Tom whilst you're in the shower kind of concept. On the subject of the words of various prophets, they should be seen as being like suggestions of sorts. The commandments, for instance, in Christianity, should be seen as being what they are, namely a very, very early historical way of trying to establish some form of written code of law, which is, of course, rather flawed, but, however, has some kind of historical significance. Then an extra message of, well, things have improved since those days, so we've actually had to expand upon the legal system somewhat. That's why we've got the complex legal system that we have in our country at the moment. However, we could say that these 10 commandments were relatively important in their day, and as such could possibly or arguably be a basis for the modern day legal systems to a certain degree. The idea of prayer should be changed from talking to God to talking to something within inside yourself, thereby fulfilling some variety of autosuggestion or auto-hypnotic kind of effects. The idea of morality could be kept, but it should be shaped to a certain degree based upon the individual's will and the individual's desire to try and experiment with life, explore life, do their own research, and to use any other source of academic research as well as conversation to try and get a better grip as to precisely how they feel they should be acting. Maybe people should be encouraged to grow up rather than actually follow a particular rigid set of instructions. On the subject of seasonal celebration, I think that can be done, not a problem, but it should be seen as being something you don't have to take too seriously, and maybe very similar to the idea of prayer, namely something which is like auto-suggestion, but you happen to do it each and every single year at a certain time or season. And it doesn't have to be taken too seriously, merely borne in mind. Religion should be cooperative, namely individuals within them should be encouraged to read, research and study the views of people in any other religion and incorporate some of the ideas into their own practices if they see fit. Any religious person who commits a crime should be punished in accordance with the law of the land, and no person higher up within the same religious organization should have any jurisdiction to try and block any form of legal action against those individuals. Point blank. People should be encouraged to be creative about what they read and try and find other interpretations and other ways of seeing the same instruction. All views could be considered to be relatively valid, apart from, of course, those which are politically extreme. But, of course, political views and religious ideas should be kept completely and utterly separate 110% of the freaking time. The words, "Are you sure?" should be used rather a lot to people who actually feel that they have seen the Archangel Gabriel or Mary or any other supernatural being. Supernatural visitations are to be seen in their proper context, namely just as strange experiences. However, there's always going to be some people, like myself, who are very keen on having these strange experiences, so basically let them at it. On the subject of prophecy, well, that should be seen as being another creative exercise, a bit like prayer, a bit like reading the text. And you can take it seriously if you want, but basically you don't have to. Okay, well, that's my opinion. Let's have yours. The comment section's open and I can't think of another rhyme. Good fortune, God and or goddess and or none of the above bless. Nick Dutch signing out yet again.